Hello everyone, Julia here, and today I have a tutorial for you about coloring with Polychromos pencils. And I'm going to be using some fantastic stamps by Purple Onion Designs. First of all, the Cups of Joy, which is usually a Christmas set, and then I'm going to be using Birch the Winter Bunny. And you can see I store all my critters here in one set, and I store these red rubber stamps. Basically I put them all on a piece of acetate and then I stamp them on a piece of paper so I can see on front of the sleeve what kind of stamps I have in this sleeve. But usually get all the stamps separately. For stamping these stamps, I'm using my Stamp-A-Magic, which is a stamp positioning tool, because you cannot see through the red rubber stamps. And even though you could kind of wing it if you just have one single stamp, since I want to have a clean and simple card, you will see if it's crooked. So that's why I'm using the tool here. I'm masking off part of the stamp because I don't want all of it to stamp, especially not those leaves, which indicate to me at least that this is a Christmas stamp, or at least a seasonal stamp. And I don't want to use it for a Christmas card, I want to use it for a regular card. So I'm just using Post-it notes to mask this off, and then I'm using archival ink to ink this up. And I'm lifting up my ink pad quite straight up so I won't move those Post-it notes and get ink somewhere where I don't want it to go. Now I'm positioning this acetate sheet from the Stamp-A-Magic where I want my stamp to go, bring in the positioner, move out the sheet. And because I have not moved the stamp on the acrylic block, when I put it down now, it will go into the exact same position as it did before. And that's how I'm able to stamp my rubber stamps exactly where I need them to go. You can see this worked out quite nicely. Now I'm masking off part of the cups because I will be stamping the bunny, and I want him to look as if he's jumping out of you from the cups, like a pleasant surprise. And positioned my stamp positioner, brought back the acrylic block with the stamp, and here you go, and I dropped it. Yeah, I know, it happens to me as well. I dropped it. I didn't intend to drop it, but I dropped it. So I'll be fixing that later. As for the coloring, you can find all the colors that I used, the pencil colors, on my blog. I will list them there. And if you've watched previous videos of mine, you know that I always preach to color in layers. And I've had a tutorial recently, if you check it out on my YouTube channel, an in-depth tutorial about coloring with colored pencils. And the trick really is to work in layers, because if you work in layers, you can blend colors much more easily, and you can intensify the color to a level that you feel comfortable with. If you press down hard immediately, there's no way, it's really hard to blend the colors because you already worked them into the paper. Speaking of paper, I'm using watercolor paper. It's called Torchon, Torchon, no clue how to pronounce it in English, from the, I think it's a German company called Hanemühle. And I never can find it on Amazon US, like the proper paper. So that's why I'm not linking to it, because I don't want to accidentally link you to the wrong sort of paper. I buy mine in huge sheets from my local craft store or art supply store, and then I just cut the huge sheets down into card sizes. That's how I do it with mine. And the reason I'm using this watercolor paper is, first of all, it's bright white. It's almost as bright white as the Tim Holtz watercolor paper. And I prefer bright white colors to, those yellowish watercolor colors. And also this watercolor cardstock has texture to it. It has some tooth. The paper is not completely smooth. And that allows, that increases the surface of the paper. All those bumps increase the surface of the paper. And it allows the pigment of the pencils to hold on. And for me personally, it's much easier to blend than on totally smooth paper, where at some point I'm just pushing the color around, whereas here I can actually work the color into the paper. And you can see I'm going over these areas 3 to 4 times, and each time I increase the pressure a tiny little bit, and you can see how perfectly I can smooth out those colors. Some of you have asked me if I prefer the Polychromos to the Prismacolor pencils, and I have started out with the Prismacolor pencils because they were easier and cheaper to get. but I found that I didn't have any of those quality problems that a lot of people complain about, so I have not observed that. But I found that the wax buildup, because the Prismacolor pencils are wax-based and the Polychromos are oil-based. And I found that the wax buildup from the Prismacolor pencils at some point just prevented me from adding more layers. It added an incredible shine to my coloring, which I personally didn't like. And it muted the stamped lines quite a bit. You can see that the Polychromos do that as well, but the Prismacolors were even worse. And also because because the wax-based pencils are softer, the Prismacolors were easier to blend, but they also were used up much faster. So if I would color an image like this, I would use up like a fourth or a fifth of my pencil. Whereas here, I basically did not have to sharpen the pencil during the coloring. And that was another reason for me, because I saw myself basically buying new pencils of the same color every 2 months, possibly. And that's why I switched to the Polychromos. But you can achieve this effect that I'm showing here with the Prismacolor pencils as well. So if you like your Prismacolors, there's no reason to switch to the Polychromos. Use whatever you personally like best. I personally decided for myself I like the Polychromos better, but again, do whatever you feel comfortable with, because you are the artist, and choose the medium that you like best. Now, once I was done with the coloring, I cut the piece out with a dye by W plus Mama Elephant, simply because I wanted to get rid of that ink splotch to the side, and because I had smudged some of the coloring with the back of my hand onto the cardstock, I just used a soft eraser to erase it, and it worked perfectly. Putting down some glue with my ATG gun, and I'm just flat mounting this onto my craft card base. I didn't want to put anything in between because I wanted the bunny and the cups to be the stars of the show, no dimension to take away from that. And then I'm adding my signature dots. I just love how you guys call it, my signature dots. I'm using the pencils this time, the same colors that I used on the rest of the card. And you can see I'm taking my time, not being hasty, so I'm not smudging anything, or I'm not putting stuff anywhere where I don't want it to go. And it's a fun addition to the card. It just adds a little bit of extra. Then I'm bringing in a black jelly roll pen. It has a very fine tip and this very saturated black color. And I'm going over the eyes and the nose, because those have been muted quite a bit by the coloring. If I would have had any brains in my head, I would have enhanced the squiggly line on the blue cup. But alas, I'm not that smart, so I forgot about that. Sorry. Of course, I had to add a sentiment. So here is the sentiment, and I'm just, I didn't wing it. I used my positioner as well to make sure it would go where I needed to go. And then I'm adding a few sequins by Pretty Pink Posh. Originally, I had wanted to add sequins in all the colors of the cups, but the longer I pushed them around, the more I realized they were just distracting from the overall card design, from the clean and simple style. So I settled on some marshmallow sequins, which are a matte white. They are not glossy. And the sand color, that's the 4mm color there. And also I can use the sequin to hide that I had some of the leaf inked up here. So yay for sequins. Of course, I had to use my glossy accents with the fine tip applicator as well to add some accents to some of the cups here. I added it to the dots, then to the check pattern on the black cup, and then also to the rim of the bottom cup. Here's a close-up of the bunny that I colored and the little dots I put around it. And here's a close-up of the entire card, and you can see where I added the glossy accents, and it's just shiny. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the project, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!